On a cold, rainy night in a city that never sleeps, Lily followed her usual routine at the small diner where she worked. Between orders and dishes, life seemed as ordinary as ever, until fate decided to intervene. Outside, curled up on the sidewalk, a little boy was shivering, invisible to the rushing crowd. But Lily, with her caring eyes and restless heart, couldn't turn away. What she didn't know was that her simple act of kindness was about to be witnessed by someone who would change everything. Across the street, inside a luxury car waiting at the red light, sat Robert Pattinson, a global star and successful businessman. Known for his fortune and his face on magazine covers, few knew about Robert's soft spot for genuine human gestures. As he sipped his coffee, he saw Lily kneel down beside the boy, wrapping her own coat around him. The actor, who had seen it all in the world of fame, found himself deeply moved by this quiet, selfless moment. Robert could have just driven away, but something inside him made him stay. He canceled a high-profile meeting just to keep watching this waitress with a heart of gold. From his fogged-up window, he saw something rare in today's world. Lily wasn't doing it for attention. There were no cameras, no audience. It was pure kindness, the kind of gesture that could change not just one life, but an entire community. And Robert knew he had to do something about it. What Lily didn't know was that this rainy night was writing a brand new chapter in her life story. That bowl of soup she served the boy was actually the spark of something much bigger. From invisible waitress to the main character of a true life-changing story, she was about to discover that small acts can echo farther than anyone could ever imagine. Robert Pattinson, touched by her spontaneous generosity, decided to step into the story, and he wasn't coming empty-handed. In the days to come, Lily and Robert would prove that authentic human connections still exist, and that kindness has the power to change the world. In a time when fame and fortune seemed to matter more than empathy, the kindness of a simple waitress would become a global message. A story that began with a bowl of soup would eventually touch millions of hearts. What seemed like just another night would soon be remembered as the moment when the impossible became reality. The rain poured down over the city, washing the sidewalks and leaving the streets almost empty that Monday night. Inside the small diner, Lily wiped down the last few tables, her eyes tired but her heart still full of quiet hope. She was the kind of girl who believed every new day held a chance to do something good, even when no one was watching. Between one table and the next, her eyes caught sight of a small figure curled up at the bus stop. The boy was shivering, hugging his knees, as if his tiny hands could chase away the cold. The wind rattled the windows, but it was the emptiness in the boy's eyes that made Lily drop her cloth. Without a second thought, she stepped outside, her apron still stained with coffee and flour, and knelt beside the little stranger. "Hey, are you okay?" Her voice was soft, but filled with genuine care. The boy didn't answer, just pulled his thin jacket tighter around his small body. Lily knew what it felt like to be invisible, and because of that, she couldn't just walk away. Kindness, to her, was second nature. With a gentle smile, she took off her own jacket and wrapped it around the boy's shoulders, feeling his cold skin through the fabric. "Come with me, I'll get you something warm to eat," she said, holding out her hand. The boy hesitated, his eyes filled with the kind of distrust that comes from living too many hard days. But hunger won over fear, and he finally reached for Lily's hand with trembling fingers. Together, they crossed the street back to the diner, unaware that a special witness was watching every step. Inside a sleek black SUV, Robert Pattinson sat silently, watching the scene unfold, feeling a lump rise unexpectedly in his throat. After years of living under flashing lights, million-dollar contracts, and glamorous events, this small, quiet moment felt more powerful than any award ceremony. He saw Lily kneel in the rain without hesitation, offering the little she had with no cameras around and no audience to impress. It was rare. It was real. And it was exactly the kind of moment Robert thought the world had forgotten. When the boy finally sat at a table, a steaming bowl of soup in front of him, Robert knew he couldn't just drive away. The quiet kindness of this waitress was a rare spark that deserved to be protected. With a quick call, he canceled his evening meeting and stayed right there, hidden in the shadows of his car, just to see how far this story would go. What he didn't know was that, on this rainy night, he was being changed too, just like Lily and that little boy. The warm air of the diner kitchen wrapped around them, a gentle contrast to the biting cold outside. Lily pulled out a chair for Matthew, who kept his eyes down, like someone who had learned long ago that trusting others can be dangerous. With careful hands, she filled a deep bowl with hot soup and placed it in front of him, adding a fresh slice of bread on the side. "Eat as much as you want, okay?" she said with a soft smile. Matthew picked up the spoon, but before his first taste, he quietly whispered, "Thank you," as if gratitude was as rare as a proper meal. Sitting in his car across the street, Robert saw it all, but it wasn't the soup that broke him. It was the way Lily tore the bread into small pieces and blew gently on the soup before serving it, gestures that only someone who has cared for others with real love would know. That simple act unlocked a door Robert had shut years ago, a memory of his own mother, long before fame and fortune, when she used to share food with strangers, saying, "No one goes hungry in front of me." This wasn't just kindness, this was an invisible inheritance, passed from one heart to another. Lily had no idea that every move she made was rewriting the forgotten childhood of a Hollywood star. As a boy, Robert had once tasted that same hunger, sitting at a soup kitchen table in a small English town. He remembered the shame of holding out his hand, the relief of being seen, and the warmth of a stranger's smile across the table. On this rainy night, Lily wasn't just offering food, she was offering dignity. And dignity is a rare currency, no matter where you are in the world. Matthew finished his soup, but before handing the bowl back, he took a napkin and carefully wiped the rim, copying the way Lily cleaned the tables earlier. Robert felt his throat tighten. It wasn't just a gesture, it was a reflection of the boy he used to be, trying to prove he was worthy of kindness. "What's your name?" Lily asked softly, and Matthew answered in a trembling voice. "Matthew," he whispered. Lily smiled, as if his name alone had formed an invisible bond between them. "Everything's going to be okay, Matthew. I promise." With his eyes burning from memories and emotions long buried, Robert started his car but couldn't drive away. Some stories pull you in, whether you're ready or not, and this was one of them. He made a quick call, "Cancel my schedule tomorrow. I need to come back here. I just met someone the world needs to know." And there, in the quiet of a rain-soaked street, a man who had everything and a waitress who had almost nothing began writing a story that would change them both forever. The next morning, the smell of fresh coffee filled the tiny diner as Lily wiped down the tables to prepare for a new day. In the corner, Matthew was still asleep, wrapped in the blanket she had brought from home, curled up like that small patch of floor was the safest place on earth. Lily had already made up her mind, as long as she was around, Matthew would never go hungry or cold again. She didn't know how yet, but she knew his life had to change. What she couldn't imagine was that fate was already setting something much bigger in motion. Shortly after the diner opened, a man walked in, quiet, unassuming, but with a presence that seemed to fill the room. Dressed simply, without any fanfare or bodyguards, Robert Pattinson stood at the counter and smiled at Lily. She didn't recognize him right away. To her, he was just another customer, someone looking for a hot coffee to start his day. "Good morning. We're open. Would you like some coffee?" she asked, with the same gentle warmth she offered everyone. Robert accepted, but his eyes kept searching for something, or someone. That's when he saw Matthew, still sleeping, and realized that what he had witnessed the night before wasn't a one-time gesture. This waitress didn't just help. She carried other people's pain as if it were her own, without asking for anything in return. Lily noticed his curious look and explained, as if taking in invisible children was just a normal part of her life. "He just needs a little care. No one deserves to grow up thinking they're completely alone." The simplicity of her words disarmed Robert all over again. He was used to scripted speeches, charity done for publicity, and good deeds designed to make headlines. But Lily was different. She did the right thing when no one was watching. For a man who had spent his life under flashing lights and constant expectations, that kind of purity was priceless. Right then and there, Robert made a decision. He wouldn't just admire her story from a distance. He would step into it. After finishing his coffee, Robert asked to speak to Lily in private. Without revealing who he was, he simply said he had seen what she did the night before, and it had deeply moved him. He wanted to know why. What makes someone with so little have such a big heart? Lily hesitated, confused about why this stranger cared so much. But there was something in his eyes, honesty, not curiosity, that made her trust him. And so, standing in front of a man she believed was just a regular customer, Lily began to tell the story her life had never told anyone before. Capítulo 4, pt. Verso empleada y humanizada. Com más inquietas, Lily siku a zikra en cuanto tendeva encontrar palabras para contar sua historia. Falar sobre sua propia vida era como mexerim uma ferida que nunca cicatrizó por completo. Mas havia algo naquele hamem, uma sinceridade no olhar, que a fez sentir que ele não estava ali por curiosidade vazia. Eu sei o que é passar frio e fome, ela comigo, a voz amargada. Perdi meus pais muito cedo, e desde então, aprendi a sobreviver sozinha. Ela respirou fundo, como quem precisa junta forças para continuar. Meu pai era marceneiro, minha mãe costurava para fora. Não tínhamos luxo, mas éramos felizes. Eight que acidente tiro os dois de mim de uma vez só. Os alhas de Lily brilhavam com lágrimas contidas, mas ela não dixa que casam. De dia para o outro, minha casa virou silencio. Meu irmão, sou bibi, não entendia nada. Eu tive que crescer desde nossa uma noite. Robert apertou a própria zikra, sentindo aquela história atravessar sua pele. Ele sabia o que era perder algo cedo demais. Mas a força com que Lily conava, sem esse vitamizer, sem esse esconder, era o que mais impressionava. Eu fiz de tudo. Vendi bala no feral, limpei chão de rodoviária, assedi cada emprego que aparecia. Não porque eu queria sobreviver, mas porque meu irmão precisava de mim. Ela sorriu de leave, mas era sorriso quebrado. Quando a gente ama, a gente aguenta. Robert viu ali não só uma garcanite, mas uma guerreira invisível. Alguém que o mundo ignorava enquanto ela salvava uma vida em silencio. Com o tempo, meu irmão ficou doente. Problema no coração. Os remédios eram caros, e cada dia parecia uma luta perdida. Ela respirou fundo outra vez, como quem empurra a dor para dentro. Eu aprendi a dividir cada centavo, cada pedaço de pau. E sabe o que mais louco? Quanto menos eu tinha, mais eu entendia o valor de juro quem tinha ainda menos. Foi então que Robert, ainda sem revelar quem era, fez algo que mudaria tudo. Ele puxou do bolso envelope descrito e colocou sobre a mesa. Use isso para ajudar quem você quiser. Incluindo você mesma. Lily arreglou os alhas, confusa e hesitante. Eu não posso aceitar isso, comigo a dizer, mas Robert sorriu. Você já engoliu tanta coisa difícil nessa vida, dixa isso ser uma coisa boa que você aceita sem culpa. Lily ficou imóvel enquanto ele se levantava e caminhava à porta. Você nem me disse seu nome, ela chamou, com aquela mistura de curiosidade e gratidão sincera. Mas Robert apenas sorriu de costas. Meu nome não importa. O que importa é o que você vai fazer com isso. Quando ela abriu o envelope, suas mãos tremiam. Era mais dinheiro do que ela já viu de uma vez na vida. Naquele momento, ela não pensou em luxo ou conforto, ela só pensou em quantas pessoas poderia ajudar. Porque para Lily, cuidar dos outros sempre foi automático. Era só quem ela era. Chapter 4, Ian, Expanded and Humanized. With restless hands, Lily dried a coffee cup, trying to figure out where to even start her story. Talking about her own life felt like peeling off an old bandage, messy, painful, but maybe necessary. Still, there was something about this man, something in the way he listened, that made her believe he wasn't just being polite. "I know what it feels like to be cold and hungry," she began, her voice a little shaky. "I lost my parents when I was just a kid, and after that, it was just me." She took a deep breath, like someone gathering courage to jump into freezing water. "My dad was a carpenter, my mom used to sew clothes for the neighbors. We didn't have much, but we were happy. Until one day, a car crash took both of them away." Her eyes glistened, but the tears never fell. "Overnight, my house turned into silence. My baby brother didn't understand a thing. And I had to grow up 10 years in one night." Robert held his coffee cup tighter, feeling that story hit him somewhere deep, a place he hadn't visited in years. He knew stories like this existed, but hearing one face to face was different. Lily wasn't telling it to get pity, she spoke like someone who had already made peace with her scars. "I've done every job you can think of. Selling candy at stoplights, scrubbing bathrooms, you name it. Not because I wanted to survive, but because my brother needed me." She gave a small, crooked smile. "When you love someone, you just keep going." In that moment, Robert didn't see a waitress. He saw a quiet fighter the world had overlooked, someone who had been a hero long before anyone noticed. "Then my brother got sick. Heart problems. Medicine cost a fortune, and every day felt like we were losing ground." She paused for a second, swallowed hard, and kept going. "I learned how to stretch every dollar. Every loaf of bread. And you know what's crazy? The less I had, the more I understood what it meant to help someone who had even less." That's when Robert, still keeping his identity hidden, did something that would change everything. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a simple envelope, and slid it across the table. "Use this to help whoever you want. Including yourself." Lily's eyes went wide, caught somewhere between disbelief and confusion. I can't take this," she started, but Robert smiled. "You've swallowed way harder things in life. Let this be something good you accept, no strings attached." Lily froze as he stood up and headed for the door. "You didn't even tell me your name," she called after him, half curious, half overwhelmed. Robert just waved over his shoulder. "My name doesn't matter. What matters is what you do next." When she opened the envelope, her hands shook. It was more money than she had ever seen at once. But luxury never even crossed her mind. All she could think about was how many people she could help. Because for Lily, looking out for others wasn't charity, it was just who she was. Still clutching the envelope, Lily sat down at the table, taking a deep breath, trying to process what had just happened. Life had never exactly been gentle with her, but this time, it felt like the universe was finally cutting her a break. It wasn't just about the money, it was about being seen, really seen, like someone finally understood the weight she carried every single day. What she didn't know was that this unexpected encounter was only the beginning. That same night, as Lily was finishing her shift, something unusual started happening. Customers were whispering, glancing toward the door like something big was about to go down. When she finally looked up, her heart nearly jumped out of her chest. Robert Pattinson was back, no hiding this time, no disguises. The humble waitress and the global superstar stood under the same roof, and while everyone else saw a Hollywood icon, Lily still saw the same guy who had listened to her story that morning. Robert wasn't just there for coffee. In his hand, he held a folder full of papers, and inside was an offer Lily couldn't have dreamed up in a million years. "You said you wanted to help more people, right?" he asked, flashing that same easy smile. "Well, I want to help you open your own cafe. A place where nobody feels invisible. A place where anyone who walks in knows they belong." Lily blinked, her brain short-circuiting for a second. "But, why? Why me?" she asked, still completely stunned. Robert leaned on the counter, arms crossed, and gave her that classic lopsided smirk, the one that made him famous in the first place. "Because you're the only waitress who's ever ignored me this hard. Didn't even glance at me twice. That takes talent." Lily let out a nervous laugh, the kind you can't hold back even if you tried. Robert shrugged. "And because the world needs more people like you." If people like me don't back people like you, nothing's ever gonna change. With her heart racing and her hands shaking, Lily signed the first round of papers, still not fully believing any of this was real. In less than 24 hours, she went from invisible waitress to unexpected business owner, with the world's most unlikely partner by her side. But deep down, she already knew, this cafe wasn't just hers. It was gonna be a place where every plate of food and every cup of coffee came with a little extra hope. Because when a stranger saves you, the least you can do is pass it on. The next few days flew by like a blur, and Lily could barely keep up with how fast her life was changing. One minute she was wearing her old waitress apron, the next she was sitting in meetings with lawyers, suppliers, and interior designers. It felt like living someone else's life. But no matter how crazy things got, she never lost sight of why this dream mattered. It wasn't about owning a business or impressing anyone. It was about building a place where kids like Matthew could walk in and feel safe and seen. Robert stayed involved every step of the way, but always from the sidelines. He didn't want to be the face of it, he just wanted to be the invisible push that made it all possible. And with every decision Lily made, Robert felt something shift inside himself too. "This is your cafe, not mine," he reminded her more than once. But Lily knew none of this would exist without the big heart hiding underneath all that Hollywood shine. The name came out of nowhere, like a spark, while Matthew was sitting at a table, doodling hearts, stars, and little coffee cups on a scrap of paper. Hope Cafe, simple, honest, and full of meaning. But as Lily stared at Matthew's colorful drawings, another idea hit her. What if they created a special corner inside the cafe, a wall covered with his art and some inspirational quotes? A space where customers could take photos and leave behind their own messages for others. Just like that, the first Instagram wall of Hope Cafe was born. Matthew quickly became the cafe's official artist and creative director, proudly covering the wall with his wild, colorful designs. With nothing but chalk markers and endless imagination, he turned the corner into a photo spot everyone would want to visit. Each guest could snap a picture holding their cup of coffee, standing in front of Matthew's art, and add their own little note to the wall. Lily didn't just want a cafe, she wanted every inch of the place to tell a story. And Matthew's wall would be the very first chapter. And as the cafe took shape, so did Matthew. The shy, guarded boy Lily first met now rearranged chairs, tested new recipes, and beamed with pride every time someone complimented his art. For the first time, he wasn't just some homeless kid, he was part of something bigger, something he helped build with his own hands. Lily thought she was opening a cafe, but really, she was building a family. Just days before opening, Robert showed up with one last surprise. "I want you to meet someone," he said, introducing a man in a sharp suit, holding a folder under his arm. He was a lawyer who specialized in adoption and foster care. "If you're ready, I can help you make something official, something your heart already knows is true." Lily glanced over at Matthew, who was busy sketching new ideas for the wall, and her heart spoke before her lips could. "I want that. I want him to stay." Opening day finally arrived, and Hope Cafe felt alive before the doors even opened. Every detail told a story, from the walls covered in inspiring quotes to the Instagram wall designed by Matthew himself. Customers started lining up early, thanks to a viral selfie that popped up the night before. Robert Pattinson, Matthew, and Lily, all squeezed together in front of the mural, with the caption, "Tomorrow, we open a place where everyone matters. See you there." It spread like wildfire. Matthew buzzed around the cafe like a little host, proudly showing off his drawings to every guest who walked in. He explained each one like it was a piece of his heart on the wall. "This one's me and Lily, the first night she gave me soup," he said, pointing to a sketch filled with stars, hearts, and steaming coffee cups. Every laugh, every camera flash at the wall, was a reminder that the kindness that started on a rainy night was now inspiring people everywhere. And then, as the cafe filled up, Robert walked in, this time, not hiding who he was. Heads turned, whispers followed, but Robert's eyes only searched for one person. Lily dropped everything and ran to hug him, no second thoughts. "I should probably be serving you coffee right now, but I think I owe you a hug first," she joked, making the whole cafe laugh. Robert hugged her back and grinned. "I'll take the hug. I can grab my own coffee later." With everyone gathered, Lily grabbed the microphone to say a few words. Her hands shook a little, but her voice was strong. "This place isn't about me. It's about all of us, everyone who believes that a small act of kindness can change everything," she said. "Every cup of coffee here has a story behind it, and every person who walks through this door deserves to feel seen. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever feel invisible." The room erupted in applause, but Lily wasn't done. She smiled wide and looked right at Robert. "Oh, and before I forget, Robert, if anyone breaks a cup today, you're on cleaning duty, okay? I'm the boss now." Laughter rolled through the cafe, and even Robert, arms crossed, couldn't hold back. At that moment, there were no movie stars, no millionaires. Just three people who proved that kindness spreads fast, and that the best stories in life start with a cup of coffee and a little courage. The days after the grand opening felt like a whirlwind. Photos of Matthew's mural flooded social media, and the story of Lily and Robert went viral in ways no one expected. Influencers, reporters, and regular folks started showing up, not just for the coffee, but to experience the place where kindness was the house rule. But through all the attention, Lily stayed exactly the same, apron slightly messy, warm smile ready, and always keeping an eye out for anyone who walked in looking like they needed to be seen. Robert kept dropping by unannounced, always ready to help or just sit quietly at the counter, watching it all unfold. He knew this cafe wasn't about him, and that's exactly why he kept coming back. Watching Lily turn every cup of coffee and every bowl of soup into a moment of real care reminded him of why he got involved in the first place. No award, no red carpet moment could match the feeling of seeing Matthew proudly handing someone a coffee, making sure nobody ever felt invisible again. But something even bigger was brewing inside those walls. One afternoon, a customer scribbled an idea on the mural. "What if we started a fund to build a foster home? A place like this, but for kids who need more than just a meal." Within hours, the idea exploded. People started leaving spontaneous donations, and soon after, celebrities, business owners, and influencers, all of whom had seen Lily's story online, jumped in. In less than a month, the full amount needed was raised. Lily could hardly believe what was happening. The tiny act of kindness that started with a bowl of soup had sparked something so much bigger than herself. When Robert showed up with the first check, signed by a group of Hollywood actors and musicians, Lily laughed and cried at the same time. "I just wanted to serve coffee, and now I'm somehow helping build a foster home," she said, shaking her head through happy tears. But everyone knew, if anyone could make this dream work, it was her. Then, one afternoon, Robert arrived carrying a small plaque. It read, "Here, no one is invisible." Lily hung it right by the entrance, knowing it captured everything the cafe stood for. This wasn't about fame or flashy charity stunts. It was about reminding people that a simple cup of coffee, served with care, could change a life. And that no one, no matter how lost or broken, deserved to feel forgotten. Outside, the world kept moving fast, heads down, always in a rush. But inside Hope Cafe, every smile, every story, and every cup of coffee proved that the greatest revolution is still kindness. And every time Lily wiped down a table or poured a new cup, she knew this story didn't have an ending. Because as long as someone out there needs to be seen, there will always be a hot cup waiting, and someone ready to say, "You matter." Now, it's your turn. What small act of kindness can you do today? Tell us in the comments and let's keep this chain of kindness growing. And if this story touched your heart, share it, because the world needs to know that hope still exists, one cup at a time.